Hey guys, welcome to episode 10 of the R.A.D podcast, Real Authentic Dads. It's always brought to you by the Mobile Barbershop Depot, and today it's actually brought to you by Freedom Float Centre at Burleigh Heads. I'm here today with a really good buddy of mine. We've become really close friends as of late, but introduced to each other through a mutual friend. And you would have seen in a lot of my Instagram posts lately, and for a long time, I'm all about routine. I'm all about having an awesome morning routine to set your day up for success and actually build a business based on a routine. And what I've been incorporating into that routine is, obviously stretching, meditation, and now I'm doing these things which you would have seen called infrared saunas, and magnesium float tanks. And I just want to introduce you to a good buddy of mine, Ben from Freedom Float Centre, the owner-operator with your partner. So Benny, welcome buddy. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Pleasure, mate. Always good to catch up, Huey.
Always good, mate. Mate, so we were introduced to each other through a mutual friend, JG.
Yeah.
I actually just walked in here this morning and I saw him walking out. And I just looked at him and was like, he hasn't finished his float.
Halfway through. Salt in his ears. Running out the door.
and he walked out and he said, because he had so much clarity during that float session, he just remembered all this stuff he had to do. He just walked out the door half dripping wet. But mate, talking about that, before we get into the benefits of floating and the benefits of saunas and yoga and meditation, mate, I just want to know, like, people who don't know you, so this is based in Burleigh.
Yep.
This centre, and before we get into what it's got in here, like, how did you come up with this idea? Because I know by trade you are a scaffolder, but you're also
scaffolding and rigging. So I basically did that working away.
And so when you're working away, you're working in WA. You're working on like oil.
Yeah, oil rigs, natural gas facilities, like gas processing facilities and iron ore mining and stuff like that. So a bit of a few various sites and everything.
So you like a FIFO worker?
Yeah.
So you make good money, you're young, you're making good money while you're away.
Yeah.
And then
cashed up bogan. Yeah.
So rather than being the cashed up bogan, you fly away, you come home and you party and you have the hell time.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get into this? Like, it's such a separation between FIFO. You think FIFO, I think, working his ass off, comes home, parties, goes to the gym, just like beefcake, beast mode type stuff. That's what they do. That's what I think they do. They come home and fly away, earn a heap of money, come back, have a ute, and then maybe buy a house. But you how did you get into this?
Yeah, well, I had my moments of being a cashed up bogan for sure, but basically, a friend of mine was working at a centre in Perth, Beyond Rest. They're a real good bunch of guys. They were the first ones in Australia with the pods, like we have here.
So the float pods,
Float pods, so she just told me about floating and that she was working at this place and I should try it out. And I was thinking, what the hell is this weird thing? I'm pretty open-minded though, so I thought I'll get down and check it out. Tried out the float tanks where you hop into the pod, or for people who don't know, you hop into a little pod capsule, 1,000 litres of water, half a tonne of Epsom salt or magnesium sulphate in the water. You can have the option to have it as full sensory deprivation with the light out, lid down, all that. I was pretty comfortable with it. So for those who aren't, you don't have to. But I just tried it the first time, definitely was a bit weird to start with. I thought I was relaxing, but I was obviously hanging on a bit. Just trusting that you can relax and fall asleep in the water is a very sort of odd feeling.
Yeah, real odd.
So I ended up trying it a couple of times and I found that it was super helpful for me coming off shift work and stuff. Like, it would really reset the body clock, and physically, because I'd be training hard when I'm away and working a physical job. The next day, like, I would sleep incredibly well that night, and then the next day I'd get up and my body and joints felt really good, well rested, and I'd feel good within a day or two, rather than have like jet lag where your body clock's out and you'll feel okay and then you'll hit the afternoon and you'll hit the big slump and everything. I was finding that wasn't happening. So for me, that's what got me into floating. And then from there, I liked the idea of it. I was living in Perth and I thought, oh, it would be really cool to have a centre like this, but a little bit more community based, because that's something, one of my probably core values, community, and just bringing people together through health and wellness, having floating as a foundation, but then be able to facilitate movie nights and educational speaking and all that, and other therapies as well.
And so living in Perth, you started floating randomly because you met someone. It's helped you out immensely with your sleeping and your recovery. And then, so when were you from the Gold Coast? Like, how did you get back here?
No, so I'm from Victoria, but I moved to Canada when I was pretty young, and when I moved home, I never moved back to Victoria. I moved to Perth because I knew there was a lot of FIFO work over there. It took me a bit to get established. I had no money, had a good credit card debt from being in Canada, having the time of my life. And then I finally got established over there, but sort of had run my race in Perth, where I was a bit over it. At the time, before I moved here, I'd actually sort of had a breakup with a girl at the time, and I'd trained in Thailand a bit at some Thai boxing camps. So at that time I was doing 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go work, live on the rig for 4 weeks, train, go live in Thailand, train, save some money as well. And I was like, basically on the cusp of going, and one of my best mates lives on the Goldie, and he contacted me and he said, mate, come and move up here. And in my head, I was quite narrow-minded about it. I was like, Gold Coast, isn't it full of pretentious, wankers, this, because it's surfers paradise.
Yeah, it is.
Full of my experience with it.
It is.
So I'd never been down this end of the coast and seen the hinterland and seen like Burleigh Heads, Coolangatta and all that. So I decided to give it a go, because he had his place in Palm Beach, and I drove to Melbourne, brought a VW van, combi van, drove it up the coast, came here to check it out. And because floating was super popular in Perth at the time, Perth is always like well behind with everything. So straight away I'm like, Burleigh's a cool spot. I'll just check out where the closest float centre is, because I was still working in WA and there was nothing at all. I was like, what the hell? Everyone's into their health, fitness, mindfulness, like everything up here. And there was nothing. So I was like, there's a bit of a gap in the market, I guess, to have something like this. And that's where it all started. So got it established, and it was just growing from there. So I was, at that point, I was definitely not keen to settle anywhere or stay anywhere. I wanted to continue to travel and everything. Now I'm a pillar of the community. I'm like established here, been here for 5 years, and just watched this place.
5 years?
Yeah, so the centre's been open for about 3.5. It's quite interesting how it's evolved. You could really take it any way you want. Like floating could be used more towards athletic recovery and stuff like that. This centre's really evolved in a way, and I guess it comes back to my core values and things I'm passionate about in regards to mental health issues that I've seen firsthand working in fly in, fly out industry. And it's not just in that industry, it's everywhere now. So I think this has turned into more of an anti-anxiety centre.
Wow.
Because you can see we've got kinesiology, naturopath, hypnotherapy, counselling, spiritual modalities like Reiki and massage as well. So you definitely can come here for physical, to benefit physically, but then we've got the infrared sauna, which instead of having it as a communal thing, you can just go in, put a guided meditation on, sit in your own space and just de-stress yourself. Same with the pods, that's a isolation chamber, what they used to be known as, but it's more about you sitting with yourself and having that time.
Mate, I find it really fascinating, mate, and that's what I was really drawn to this place, is that, well, you know me too, I've got this thing where I do, it's called my one massage protocol, where every week I get a massage, and every week now I'm going to come and have a float, and every week I'm going to have a sauna, is because, one, for a guy, I think you need that time away from family and kids to be in solace, to think and to just reassess and reboot and recharge. So I think getting massage, one, is awesome for your body, right? And then two, the float, you're in complete solitude for 45 minutes where you're just floating, literally floating in water or magnesium or salt bath. And it's like, and I was sitting in it the other day and I was just like, holy shit, this is like like when you were born, when you're a baby, just floating in the womb, right? Like it's that. And I'm thinking, it's like my mind just starts going mental, just thinking like this is the most crazy experience. Why is it so calming? And I'm thinking to myself, it's really interesting that you feel this sort of would have felt like
in the womb.
In the womb, it's just quiet, supported, and you fall asleep in there.
Yeah.
And then you wake up like with a shaker. Oh, where am I? Like it's just if you've never tried it, you've got to try it. I think it's a profound experience. Just so, mate, coming back to that, so you've built this community here. You've got all these different facets of this. Well, is it like a health and wellness centre you'd call it? Or?
Yeah.
And then you've opened it up for those reasons. You've been going for 5 years. You started it, didn't you?
Yeah. There was a couple of friends who were with us at the start. Yeah, and then everyone's sort of gone on their own path. So I'm still here, and it's evolved since then. And my partner Sarah, who I met on the Gold Coast, she's now a big part of it.
Yep.
Managing the centre as well as a therapist.
And mate, so tell me about it. Let's go through the different facets of this. So I think people will find it really interesting. So talk me through. We're talking about pods. So talk me through that process. Why it's super beneficial to someone? Why should someone try it?
Yeah, I think just for all aspects, like every float can be different, as you've probably found as well. And even just recently, I've had some light bulb moments or things that I've had to work through myself, even after floating, however many times I've floated.
Yes.
I used to get quite frustrated if I couldn't get to that switching off state and just fall asleep in there because I felt exhausted. I knew I could always sleep in the pod. I've gone through the process of being super tired and stressed and everything, hopping in there and then not being able to, thinking that I'm just going to sleep in there and looking forward to that and having this expectation of, oh, like a spoiled little kid, I need this, I want this, I need this. And then when it wouldn't come, I'd get out of the float tank and be quite frustrated and annoyed at it. And then afterwards I'd feel my body would feel super relaxed and then I'd feel physically different. I'm like, I need to let that go. And some days you hop in there and you fight and wrestle with your own thoughts and what you want and what you think you need. And when you can just surrender to it, now I hop in and I'll just try to do visualization techniques. So you find out that having that phone there, like sometimes you want to study or research, and if you're sitting at home at the desk and your phone's sitting there, it's so easy to just grab that. It's so easy to get up and walk to the fridge and just self-sabotage yourself because you're just procrastinating. When you're in there, if you can just sit through that hour, let the thoughts come, and like you said before, that's time for you, and then it's time to process, because when we're with other people all the time, it's a tendency for most people to lean on other people, say, oh, what do you reckon about that? What do you think about that? And then you're just stepping away from your true self, an essence of what you know all the answers in your heart, what you know the answer is, but we often turn to other people to justify our point of view or to go, what do you think? What do you think? It's not bad to ask for advice, but then it's so good to sit with yourself and things will come. So the whole idea, the mindfulness aspect of being in sensory deprived state with no external input, you can get into a deeper state of focus and allow yourself to process things, even if it's uncomfortable. Physically, you benefit regardless. So you're in there, you're completely supported, you can fall asleep in there. You can be absorbing magnesium transdermally through the skin. Which is the largest organ of your body, right? Yeah, so you're getting this big hit of magnesium. Which is good for? Well, just replenishing neurotransmitters in the brain. It's good for most people these days. 70% or more of society are deficient in magnesium, and obviously if we're training hard, like if you're taking magnesium as a supplement, that's really good, but there's a big thing at the moment around gut health. Now, if you haven't got good gut health and you're not absorbing those minerals, you can be taking all these amazing supplements and your body might not even be absorbing that like what it needs to. So you can just be passing that through your system, thinking you're doing the right thing. So obviously getting in the pod and absorbing it through the skin is a really effective way of getting your magnesium levels up. So just made on that as well, because people go, well, what are Epsom salts and what are magnesium? Like, what's the difference? So the Epsom salt that we put in, that's magnesium sulfate. Right. So it's quite interesting. You can't just put any salt in the pod and it would dissolve like that.
Right.
And it looks crystal clear in the water.
It does, yeah.
And it's quite slimy, but you also will notice that you don't wrinkle in there. It's an effect that the magnesium sulfate has on the skin, that when you're in water, generally your skin will shrivel up. So people come out and their skin's super silky and smooth and they've got that post-float glow, and they'll have it even for days. And it's funny when people walk in and see them, they've never floated, and they look at a couple of people on the couch and they're just so chilled, and you can just see they look physically different to what a person would normally look.
Magnesium. How did that even, do you know, Joe, how the first person to just be floating is the...
There's that Swedish neurophysicist, John Lilly. So he was a real tripper. It's cool though, actually, how it all kicked off, because he was passionate about mental health issues all the way back then in the 70s. And he got these, that was an isolation tank back then. So he got these tanks. I guess they must have played around with it and realised, what can we put in there to make you float and all this. And that was obviously the Epsom salts was what they used. They'd be a far cry from the pods we got now. There wouldn't have been any lights in there. There would have been a small little dark thing. And he used to get in there for 8-hour stints, and he'd take LSD and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, wow.
So he'd be in there going on his own little journey. So the whole floating's still got that bit of a stigma attached to it about, on different shows or movies like Altered States and stuff. You know, people link that, a bunch of trippers want to go get in the tank. But I think even Joe Rogan's a big advocate, but I think what people need to be very mindful of, Joe Rogan's great, but even he says at the start, you let go, you think you've let go, and then you can let go some more and more and more. People listen to Joe and they get excited and they all want to go smoke a big blunt and go hop in the pod, or take edibles and hop in the pod. And it's like, in my opinion, I just believe that's still a form of escapism.
Yes.
Rather than, okay, if you want to do that eventually, do it. But if you can sit through all your own stuff first and get comfortable being with you and process, but if you're taking some substance to like shift your, take you into a different dimension, basically, you're escaping that reality and you're still avoiding all the stuff that's just there anyway.
Mate, I agree with you. I think once you've dealt with it yourself, and you know you have dealt with whatever it is that you've dealt with, if you want to then take the substance to then enhance what you've already, the foundation's already built, that makes sense. Like, for example, you and I have done a lot of personal development stuff. And we did speak recently about going to Rhythmia to do a ayahuasca ceremony. I'm still going to do that at some stage. Yeah. People don't know what that is. It's like a, it's not a mushroom, is it? It's like a ground root, plant-based root.
Plant medicine.
It's been around for thousands of years. It's like a tribal ritual, isn't it? Yeah. And it just gives you some enlightenment to let go of some, or deal with some issues that you've had in the past. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, more like can definitely bring up, can be quite scary for people, I guess, going into that, but it's more to bring up things, patterns that you're doing that are self-sabotaging, or if you're drifting off your path that is your essence where you should be going, you know, your highest self, and like being a good person, of high integrity, and living the life you need to be. And there's a lot of things that pull us off that road. So going to do that, that's what they've found. It's crazy. There's over, I believe there's over 60,000 plant species in the Amazon, and they've got, it's the root of one and the vine of another, and they've managed to somehow find these two, put it together and create this drink that they have that brings them all this clarity of thoughts. And like people I know that have done it, like there's other plant medicines as well. And people have had addictions like heroin addictions, or suffering like depression and things like that. And they've done this stuff and sat with them, sat in the jungle and gone through these ceremonies, and they've cured themselves with no pharmaceuticals. So it's not to say that it's going to work every time for everyone, but to be honest, like, why have you got these incredibly intelligent civilizations that have done this for so long, and how did it all come about like that? It's
crazy, mate. Like, and that's a discussion, but you got big pharma in the world that control all this stuff. I'd rather have you take pharmaceuticals rather than plant-based medicine, right? And I think there's power in that. So the float tank's awesome for for being in solitude, for being with your own thoughts, and it's also beneficial in terms of magnesium and the Epsom salts for your body and recovery. And then the next thing away from that is the infrared saunas. Now, obviously, Joe Rogan's been into that, and it's a pretty trendy thing at the moment. Yeah. Saunas still are, but were like the old school saunas.
Yeah. And
then the infrared saunas are not a new thing, but I know that it's pretty cool at the moment.
Yeah, it is trending, like you said.
So tell me about the difference between those. So what's so good about having a sauna?
Well, I guess I'll give one quick plug as well to Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She's done a few she does podcasts, and she's been on Joe Rogan and I think Tim Ferriss. So if anyone is listening or watching this, definitely check out Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She's done all these studies on sauna use and the benefits on all mortality rates. So I won't go into all that, but basically heat shock proteins for the body. And so we've got the infrared sauna. So traditional saunas can be quite different, where if you tip the water on the rocks, it'll heat the steam will come into the air, that will heat the air, which will heat your skin, which warms you up. The benefit I find with the infrared saunas is that it stays at constant temperature. Yeah. So you've got the panels that are in the sauna, the far infrared panels. And now what they do, they basically heat the body from the inside out. So that can penetrate up to like 7 to 9 times deeper than what a normal sauna can. Yeah. Just because you can sit in there, like, yourself, you can breathe easy. Some of those steam rooms, it's quite intense. Yeah. And old mate rolls in and tips some water on the rocks when you're sitting in your zone and just ruins it. So then you've got to sit on the floor. And then you want to throw him out. So and then he gets out a minute later.
So I was in my 40th. I told you the story about my 40th, and we were in Miami. We're staying at the Standard, which is like a health spa retreat. It's a really boutique hotel. So we're going out and partying during the day, and then coming back and having like spa treatments. And we're sitting in this sauna with this one guy. He was sitting right next to the coals, and he brought the cold water in from outside, and he kept splashing it. I was like, "What the fuck's he doing?" And he kept splashing it, and then I'm in my zone. I'm sweating up a storm. My buddy and I were just looking at each other, and he starts throwing water on the walls. What are you doing? And he goes, "Oh, I've like saunaed in Russia, all this." And he starts to do this. He goes, he's like a sauna professional.
Okay, yeah.
And he's like, why I throw the water on the wall is to create humidity or something, so it's not so hard to breathe. And he's going through this whole process. And I'm just like, mate, I'm just kidding.
Okay,
it's pretty crazy. Yeah. So the infrared sauna heats up via infrared.
Yeah. And so then, so basically when that warms your muscles up and then you do start sweating, that's going to be coming out from quite deep within the muscles. So actually talking about I had JG earlier, Josh, he's a funny guy. He's constantly researching all these different methods. But after 9/11, there was a lot of the fireys and stuff. I think they had a lot of toxicity in the body from the smoke and all of the building burning or whatever. So they've gone through all these different methods to try and like remove the toxins from the body. And you can only do so much. So they've found this great method of doing 20 minutes of cardio. This German doctor, it came from Germany, but you do 20 minutes of cardiovascular exercise, probably a run or skipping or whatever. Josh will be skipping out the front. His clients are like, who's this weirdo skipping out the front? But you get the body warmed up, probably starts opening the pores, sit in the infrared sauna for like half an hour, and that will just help remove all the toxins. We're also taking a supplement, niacin, which can help bring the blood to the surface of the skin. So, and then taking activated charcoal, because I believe that is what can remove the toxins from the gut. So where the sauna won't do that.
Right.
So this is this method, and there's been a few people that have come in since and done it, while they do it over a certain amount of time to try and fully detox the body. So it's quite interesting. But yeah, the infrared sauna, like, people are coming in, and I find even just not for the detox effects, for inflammation, like a lot of athletes are loving it. And I'm a big believer of a lot of our emotional stress, whether it's anger, shame, guilt, whatever, all this stuff we hold on every day dealing with people in day-to-day life. we hold it in our body and then it stores in our muscles, and that can cause sickness later. Like if you're not doing active things like exercise or yoga or saunas, floats, whatever, you can hold that tension in the body, and then once you do a session in either of those, massages, whatever, you feel physically different. Now, I think that can help release a lot of emotional stress from the body. And I know myself, if I sauna in the afternoon, I'll hop in there, sauna, come out feeling really cleansed and feel actually not depleted like some of the other saunas may have you feel. And then you feel quite chilled, go home, your body feels super relaxed, like you've released so much tension. Then when it's time to go to bed, I usually sleep really well because I haven't still got that monkey mind going and haven't got that tension in the body. So I think a lot of people really like coming here to do that because they have the room to themselves, sit there, do a little meditation in the sauna or just relax in their own time. And you're kind of breaking the day, like you've got work, and then you've got home, and sometimes if you're sitting at work all day on the computer dealing with people, if you don't really go out in nature or if you don't go do anything like that, exercise or stretch or whatever, you can still carry that energy with you into bed and stuff, and you feel like you're wired rather than have any little routine. It doesn't matter what it is, but if you can break that, that kind of cuts that part of the day, leave that behind, and it's time to rest, and then you get up and do it again.
No, you're spot on there. I'm all about that. So I break my day up, and this is what I teach through my programs, is I break your day up into 3 components, really. So you've got your morning, you've got your work day, and then you've got your evening routine. I think an evening routine is as powerful, if not more powerful, than a morning routine. Do you know what I mean by a morning routine? Like it's getting up, doing some physical activity, it's doing a meditation, it's eating well, and it's setting your day up for success, right? And then at work, you get stressed, but you've already had an awesome morning, so that anything that happens during the day, you've already had an awesome morning, so you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
And then at night, like what you said, if you just walk through the door, still carrying the baggage of your day, what's your home life going to be like? Like, you're going to probably be more argumentative, you're not going to be talkative, you're not going to be happy, you're going to be stressed, you'll be constantly thinking about it. But as you said, if you can break that and have an awesome evening routine, and I think you can do that through the meditation, or through putting your phone away, through communicating with your partner, through making dinner with your partner and your kids, to going for a walk, for
breath work, anything. It doesn't matter,
Mate, on that, actually, this is a nice segue as well. So I noticed when you brought outside, you had we've got a guy that we mutually love, Baldwin, who did a lot with Mick Fanning and a lot of the surfers in terms of breathing work and training. But I noticed that you have is it a breathing seminar here, or what's that?
Yeah, so there's a couple that do some breathwork stuff. So we do have a few different people rolling through. So I'm
really interested in breathwork because, one, when I was swimming as a semi-professional swimmer, breathing was a huge facet of performance, right? And I think secondly, through my meditation practices and breathing, I find that it's something that really resonated with me, and I can't remember who said it, maybe I was listening to a podcast, that why breathing is super important, and then I'll get you to talk about why you've got it here, is because the first thing you do when you're born is take a breath of air. The last thing you do before you die is have your last breath. And I think that's really, really profound, right? So I think that concentrating on breathing is really important to de-stress and come back to yourself and be conscious enough to come back to your presence in time when you're drifting off or becoming too busy with life. So in terms of your breathing classes, what do they entail?
There's just different ones. So we've had the ice bath ones here, which is more the Wim Hof method.
So talk about the Wim Hof method for people that don't know him.
He's a little bit about crazy Dutch guy who's just done incredible things that other humans, or they would have believed that was physically impossible. Swam under the ice in the Arctic shelf for like 70 metres, sat in ice. I forget which city he was in, but he didn't just do it at home. There was also the added stress of him being in the middle of this city with like thousands of people looking at him, sitting in ice up to here. And I think it was like an hour and 58 minutes. Submerged up to there, not to there, all his vital organs in the ice. And he sat there doing his breathing method for nearly 2 hours, and he can regulate his own body temperature, which is like, people think it's madness. He's hiked up on Everest in sandals and shorts and stuff, and just like, but that method will, it can also help expel a lot of emotions and stuff like that. It definitely works in over-oxygenating the body as well. So the first time I grew up with asthma. I'm a chest breather. Like when I first learned to breathe into the belly, it felt strange. When I breathe, my belly would go, when I inhale, my belly would go in because I'm breathing into my chest. And when these people said to me, when you breathe in, your belly needs to expand. And for me, that was like, whoa. And this was only like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. So I've been going through my whole life, not even knowing how to breathe into my belly.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's just from what I've done as a child. So now I'll be at the front counter, says my partner always thinks I'm a weirdo because I'll be standing there like, breathe into the belly, but it's because I also, when I concentrate, I stop breathing. So then just having a conscious awareness. So when we get stressed, obviously our blood pressure can go up, our pulse, our heart rate can increase, but you notice your breath as well. So you'll breathe a bit heavier, like if you're angry or if you're, nervous on edge. So if you can get to points where you're consciously breathing, because we breathe unconsciously, but then there's conscious breath work too. So if you can do that, like breathe consciously and come back to the breath and just slowly even do some pranayama breathing, or where you close one nostril in.
Which they do during yoga.
Yeah, in for 5 seconds, hold for 5, out for 5, hold for 5, things like that. The Wim Hof method's more for like energising the body, and you do see people and they'll do the ice bath afterwards, so you learn that technique, then you sit in the ice, and it's to help get you through those states of uncomfortableness, like trying to sit.
Is that what it's about, do you think? Is it to doing that while it helps you with your physiology, do you think it also helps in terms of benefiting you in terms of, you've overcome adversity in terms of doing something you just totally don't want to do?
Yeah.
Is that
because I think hopping into, say, the ice, there's nowhere to run and hide. That's it. And I've seen people get in.
Got to deal with it.
Yeah, I've seen people get in that you would least suspect, and they just sit in there for like half an hour. And then you see I've seen other people who are fit, strong, who I would expect that would just sit through it and just like, come on, toughen up, whatever. Get out, try again, get out. I don't want a bar of this. It's because your mind is telling you, get out. I don't like this feeling. But if you can sit through and just focus not on where you are, but actually focus on the breathing, because
that's
once you get through, you can do those little pulses and stuff and tense the body where it does regulate your body temperature. And once your body can sit through that first, say, minute, it can start to adapt to where you are, and you can sit in there for longer periods.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy, but it's...
Look, I just do that every morning. I think for the last, maybe since for about 6 or so months, the start of the year, I've been having cold showers, and every morning, so it's about a minute and a half I spend in there. And like cold, like this morning, I didn't want to have one. I thought to myself, you know what, I'm just going to have a warm one. I thought, you know what, no. I'm going to go have a cold one. And I go, why am I going to have a cold one? I thought, well, one, I've done something I don't want to do. So anything I do today, I know I can do because I've had a cold shower, which I didn't want, that's one thing I tick that off. Plus the benefits of you boosting your immune system, your metabolism and stuff with the cold water. But I think it's just the most amazing thing. I've never done an ice bath.
You do well. Like if you're doing the cold showers, like mentally,
I prepare myself when I have the cold shower.
Yeah.
I go in and I breathe through it, and I go, when it's cold, I go.
Well, he's got that app, Wim Hof app. It's called Inner Fire, and it's a few bucks, but they start you off with the Wim Hof method with cold showers. That's what you build.
Oh, right.
So they use the cold showers. But I remember doing it the first time here, and my lung capacity is quite poor because probably my asthma and not breathing correctly for so long.
Yeah.
But they got us to do the breath work for, say, 3 or 4 rounds, and you get the tingles. Some people like have outbursts of screaming. Some people like have emotions letting go. But I was real tingly, and just once we did it, they said, now try and do some push-ups. So at the end of it, you're like, finish, let all the air go. And then they said, now do push-ups as many as you can. Don't try rush it. Don't do it to the point where you're going to pass out. Just continue until you feel like you need to take a breath. I did 50-something push-ups without any oxygen in my lungs because I'd exhaled everything.
So you weren't breathing, you're holding your breath.
So we finished the breath, and at the end, let it all out. So you've expelled all the oxygen in your lungs, and then did like 50 odd push-ups with it.
Without breathing?
Without taking a breath until I needed to breathe,
Because I remember watching Lewis Howes interview Wim Hof on his podcast, and they actually did that. They did the breathing technique, and then they did push-ups.
But they do the push-ups without oxygen in the lungs, so you exhale. But obviously because of that breath work, you've over-oxygenated the body, so you've pumped so much oxygen into your lungs, which has gone into your bloodstream. So obviously you've got oxygen all throughout your body, just not in the lungs, until that carbon dioxide gets too much and you need to take more oxygen in. And then but they do a lot of surf training like that, operating at high CO2 levels and stuff like that, getting smashed by big waves, like Blues and does that, where he'll get down. See, that'd scare the hell out of me. But he gets guys to like get to that point where they haven't got much oxygen left, and then he's going down and like grabbing their legs and like fully wrestling them and ragdolling them down around the bottom.
To get that same experience of big wave surfing.
Yeah, underneath the water, like being in that state of high stress, but understanding you need to remain calm, because these surfers can come up and cop another one on the head and another one on the head, and when they're out there in big waves, like there's no easy way out of that. You've got to just, the only choice you have is to remain calm, because the minute you've got enough oxygen to be okay, and if you can come up and just take another breath, you've got enough to be okay again. But for me, water makes me quite anxious, so I know for me that I would struggle to remain calm.
I've had panic attacks surfing in Indo with a couple of buddies. Some big sets came through, we got pumped, and I panicked.
It's when, because as humans, you're completely not in control there. Like, you're in control of yourself, but everything happening around you, you've got no control over that, where you're like, shit. And as humans, we like to be in control. That's why I think some people, when you come into a float tank, for example, if we were to tell people who are a bit anxious about it, go, okay, welcome to your first float. What we're going to do, you're going to take your clothes off, get in that pod, and when we're going to shut the lid, put a lock on it, turn the light off, and you're in there for an hour, and that's you. We'll see you soon. They're going to have anxiety go through the roof. Yeah, right. But people have come in, my clients. One lady the other day gave us the most amazing feedback. She said, you know what, my daughter came in here and she said, Mum, you would hate that. You've got to shut the lid, claustrophobic, not for you, like you would hate it. And then she's like, really? And then she said, one of my friends told me, wow, that was so relaxing, I really enjoyed it, you should try it. And she said, I thought, I'm going to give it a go. So she gave it a go. She said, you know what, first time I got in, I laid in there, had the lid up, had the light on, and I really relaxed in there, thought that was quite nice, felt really nice afterwards. Came back the second time, she said, I decided that I was in there after a few minutes. I'm like, I'm just going to shut the lid. So she shut the lid and then laid there, and then said the third time I came in, I thought, then why do I need the light on? I know I can get out. So that was all in her own time. And then she
turned her own mind.
And she turned the light off. Now she came out the other week and goes, I actually slept through most of that today. Someone who was so fearful at the start. You can still have those moments when you wake up and you forget where you are because it's so dark in there, and you're like, what the hell is going on right now? Because you can't see your hand in front of your face. But then you push the lid up. Heaps of people come out and they're like, oh, just had to take a breath. And I was like, oh, sweet, lay back down. But it's quite cool to see the journey of people who have come in and they're brave enough to give it a go because they're super anxious. And if she had just listened to her daughter, she would never know. But then we still get clients that come in and they go, oh, I've got a float voucher. I want a massage. I don't want to float. It's not my thing. I'd hate it. And they won't even, they'll never try it. And some people are just not ready. And I'm not going to stand there and try to preach them into it. Nah, just let people do what they want.
It's hilarious, mate. Just coming back to the breath work, I just reminded me, my dad, he used to tell me to take 3 big deep breaths before my swimming races. Like I'll be up on the blocks, I'll be going on the box, reset, go. And now thinking back to it, maybe that just had he did some research, people did, he's super knowledgeable in relation to that. So just from reflecting back now, I just remember that moment in time where I used to take those big 3 really big deep breaths and then race. Because I'd hold my breath for the entire 50 metres freestyle.
I was going to say as well, I think when a lot of us are nervous, we'll probably hold our breath too. So if you're holding your breath prior to jumping in the water as well, it can have an effect. So to consciously do that, 3 big deep breaths is like, that's an energizing type of breath.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mate, and then yoga for guys. Let's talk about that. I know I was doing some, what do we call it, broga?
Broga.
We're doing that here for a bit with this 5 guy, and you still do that. So I'm a huge advocate of stretching. You would have seen, I've even done an online mini series called the Inflexible Dude Let's Get Flexing series. And the reason I did it is because I found that getting older, training a lot as well, you start getting stiff and sore. And to prevent yourself from getting stiff and sore, you need to stretch. And I think stretching is the first step, becoming flexible. Like it's good for your spine longevity, isn't it? It's good for your hip joints, it's good for your knees, it's good for flexibility, it's good for headaches, it's good for absolutely everything. But then the next step from that is getting into a yoga practice. So you've got a yoga practice here.
Yeah, and it's probably lucky I do it with some guys where we sign up ahead, because it's one thing that's easy to just not do. So you commit to it. And it's pretty funny. The class we do is definitely catered to our abilities as well. Yoga's kind of lost its way as well a lot now. Like me personally speaking to a lot of yoga teachers who love the origin of yoga, and they read these ancient texts and they know the breath work and they love the history. But there's a lot of flashy. It's like everything social media is all about. Like you do calisthenics, people want to see people doing 360 muscle ups. You're doing yoga and it's all strong poses where people are shredded and they're doing these crazy postures, but not as much about the mindfulness aspect of the yoga. But to just actually do something where you can do basic sort of moves and stretches to open your hips, your shoulders, and over time, like you look at a lot of old Asian cultures where we're not very, a lot of occupations here aren't very functional as far as moving the body. We're very sedentary these days, sitting at the desk, sitting in the car, doing whatever. So our bodies come out, get tight, rounded shoulders, head down like that, tight hips. Like I've improved a lot, but I've still got a long way to go. But you see a lot of these Asian cultures where the Indians and stuff will just be sitting down in a full
squat.
Squat, just sitting there. I was in India and seen these guys sitting on a beam like 1.5 meters off the ground, and there was about 3 of them just sitting with their feet on there, sitting like that, just chatting away. And I'm like, how are they even just sitting like that comfortably? Like I'd do it just to go, oh yeah, cool, I could do that for about 3 seconds. But for our culture, I think it's really good to start doing that. And the whole stigma for it for a lot of guys, there's a lot more guys doing this stuff now. But a lot of fellas will be like closed-minded to it because they've got these preconceived ideas. But just stretching and doing movements that could be similar to like yoga movements, can benefit so much. Even circulation and everything. But you find as we get older, obviously we're less resilient and we can get injured quicker. So more often than not, someone gets injured. It's not when they're bending down to pick up that heavy box. It's usually when they reach down to grab a pen or something, because as adults, we get quite lazy with our movements. You'll see when babies walk up and grab something, they've got the perfect squat position. So they use their strong muscles because they need to, where we get stronger, so we can reach over with poor posture and just grab things. But then as you get older, you start doing these injuries that are harder to recover by. But if you're doing some mobility or functional movement type stuff, you'll be more, your ligaments, tendons, everything will be more equipped to do that. So when you bend down to pick something up, you're not going to pull your back out because your body can move in those planes of movement.
Totally, mate. I reckon it's crucial for everyone. Like I see a lot of my mates these days, and they're getting a lot better with it. They've joined like gyms and F45 and stuff. But I think for guys, when they're going through their mid to late 30s, entering their 40s, like you'll see all these dads out there. They've got the dad bod, right? A little bit overweight, haven't really done any physical activity. They're sort of struggling a little bit. And I sort of look at them and I go, man, just get up a bit early in the morning, do some stretching, go for a walk, just do something, get your body moving, but their wives are like the polar opposite to them. They're doing the yoga, they're doing all this, they're stretching, they're active. I just think they just need to do something to complement that and not be afraid to come to a place like this to engage in it. Right?
Well, most blokes love it when they do it.
Don't they?
It's funny because I was working offshore on this one job, and there's a PT out there, Rachel. I'm still good mates with Rachel now, and I got her this book actually, which was big, really helped me through a tough time in my life. It's called The Untethered Soul, and it's about meditation basically.
Yeah.
It's quite spiritual, so it's not, you probably, when you're tiptoeing into that realm of self-development, it's not the book to read, but if you've read a few books like that, it's definitely a good one, can give you some great insight.
What's that book again?
The Untethered Soul. I got it, I received it as a gift as well, so then I've gifted that out a few times, but even Rachel, a girl out there, said she started doing some meditation classes. So I got her a copy of the book and she loved it. Then she started doing meditation classes with a couple of the guys. So she'd do repeats. She'd run the gym class in the Arvo, and then she started going, okay, now we'll just sit at the end and do a meditation. I snuck it in there.
Yeah.
And she pulled me up because I'm real open with all that stuff. So even though I'm holding pads 1 minute, doing hardcore workout next minute, like it doesn't matter, you know, then I'll be meditating.
It complements it.
Yeah, and so I like, Rachel said, you know what, Benny, like these guys did the meditation. She goes, but afterwards they're like, oh yeah, thanks, you know. And she goes, they all come up to me individually later, like, oh, that was like, yeah, that was good. Like I had this come up, or I felt really relaxed afterwards. And that's cool as well, you know, because people are a bit worried what everyone else thinks.
Yeah.
But then they came to her later and opened up more about it. And that's a good win, you know. Like I think rather than say to someone, oh, you could have just brought it up in the group, you know what, that's okay. Let people come in where they feel comfortable, build the trust, and then they feel like it's okay to actually do that stuff and realise, well, I felt more chilled out. I got to sleep a bit quicker, whatever. But sometimes I think with men, you've got to kind of sneak it in there and say, it's okay, you know, it's okay. In the boy yoga group, it took a while before now everyone's doing the Om. But it was like, no one wanted to be the first one to do it. So everyone's sitting there, and even at the end, the teacher will say namaste, and no one does. Everyone's like, thank you. Because it was a thing at the start where we all joked about, where it's like, oh, not saying namaste, I'm not saying namaste. And then now everyone's doing the Oms and doing some pretty crazy meditations, and it's like, well, that's cool because you get more comfortable and go, you know what? Who gives a shit? Like it's okay. No one cares. But I think for men, like going into a yoga studio that's predominantly women as well, could be quite, even though, it could be quite intimidating because males' pride and ego is a big thing. Totally. So it's like if I go in there and I can't do any of the postures.
You're never going to. Being a seasoned yogi, you're never going to.
And women are a lot more flexible, like better at getting into those. Men will sort of muscle their way through things, and you find that works sometimes, but then with some things it just doesn't work.
And I was doing a yoga thing a little while ago into Queenstown. We found this yoga studio, and I hadn't really done much yoga, and I went in, I thought, oh, I'll be good, I'll do CrossFit, you know, I can nearly snatch 100 kilos, I can muscle up, I'll be good. Mate, I was sweating, and the yoga teacher goes, I'll give you a towel. Sweating during yoga, and like everyone else, all the women in there weren't. I was just like, oh my God. But finished, and I was like, I've got to do this more often. You know, because it was so awesome. So, mate, we'll probably wrap up soon because you've got stuff to do. But so it's just been an awesome journey for you in terms of bringing something like this to the Gold Coast. And I think as a result of this now, there's people are more inclined to visit these places, right? So guys, we're talking about in particular. So what type of guys did you get here? You get athletes, but you get corporate dads?
We get everyone now. Yeah, we get everyone. There's one dad who comes in now. He's a bloody legend, and he's got 4 boys, I think it is, and he comes and gets massage with Sarah, same massage therapist you say. Then he tried the sauna afterwards. He goes, oh, I'll try it. He's like, that's awesome. And then he tried the float tank. So now he comes in every week or second week, and he does massage, sauna, float, and it's just, and he just pays up front for packs, and he's like, I really want to thank you guys, like this is actually the best place ever, I love coming here, and he goes, this is my time of the week to just fill my cup. So it is attracting more types of people for different reasons, even like tradies and stuff, but once people realise, oh yeah, that actually makes me feel good afterwards, that's a good thing. Like they might not come here for a meditative side of things, they might come here to physically fix the body. And then when they're in there, they might get into a space in their mind that they haven't been before. But that's not for me to go, oh, so how was it? Did you have this experience or this? Just let people do it in their own way.
Yeah, so everything is baby steps, right? You just like introducing them to something. Yeah, it's really cool, mate. Well, mate, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to have to get you back on because there's so much shit that we talk about outside of this now that I think, man, this would be so cool to record a podcast. I think we're having a coffee a few weeks ago. I said, mate, we should record this for a podcast. We're having some conversation about something I thought was really cool. But mate, we'll leave it for another time. I know you've got to get back to work, but mate, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for the time, mate. Man, thanks, Legend.